Welcome to my another lecture video session about web programming. In this video session, we will be learning HTML text level semantics. What is semantics? Semantics means elements with a meaning. The semantic elements clearly describe its meaning to both the browser and developer. For example, semantic elements like forms, table, and article, which clearly defines its content. Example of non-semantic elements. Example, div, span tells nothing about its content. The first elements we will be learning is EM elements, which are text level semantic elements. In this example, dogs are cute animals, where dogs are included inside EM elements, which means EM elements represent stress emphasis of its content. The placement of stress emphasis changes the meaning of the sentence. Example, the word dog. By emphasizing the word, the statement implies that the kind of animal under discussion is a question. Maybe someone is asserting that cats are cute. The strong elements IT, CS, and BC and others. The strong element represents strong importance, seriousness, or urgency for its content. In this example, the text is really IT, CS, and BC, but the author has added a light-hearted addition to a heading. The strong element is thus used to mark off the first part of distinguish it from the later part. The small element. The small elements represent side comments such as small prints. The small elements should not be used for extended span of text, multiple paragraph, list, or section of text. Example, a small element is used for the side comment in an article as shown here. The S element. The S element represents content that are no longer accurate or no longer relevant. In this example, recommended retail price has marked as no longer relevant as the product in question has a new sale price. This is output and this is quote. Site and Q elements. The site elements are reference to a creative work. It must include the title of the work or the name of the author, as given here in the word of, which we use the site elements here and Theodore Roosevelt. And we use the Q elements, which Q elements represent some phrasing content quoted from another source. So like believe you can and you are halfway there. DFN element. DFN elements stands for definition elements, and it specifies the term that is going to be defined within the content. Example, HTML is a standard markup language for creating web page, where we are defining this HTML, so we put DFN elements in HTML. ABBR elements, which is ABBR element represents an abbreviation or acronym optional with its expansion. Use global or title attributes to show the description for the abbreviation or acronym when you mouse over the elements. The output is GCID as shown here. When you hover your mouse here, it will show a abbreviation as Calposition College of Information Technology. The time elements. The time element defines a specific time or date time. The date time attributes of this element is used to translate the elements into a machine-readable format so that the browser can offer to add date reminders through the user's calendar, and search engine can produce smarter search results. In this example, I have a date on Valentine's Day. We add a date and time attributes in our date and time attributes. The code elements. The code elements is used to define a piece of computer code. The content inside is displayed in the browser default a monospace font, where we put our code elements inside this code word. it's displayed as monospace font as default, which is used to define a piece of computer code. Var element. The var element represents a variable in programming or in a mathematical expression. Example, there are n number of books where we put n as a variable. SAMP elements. The SAMP elements is used to define the sample output from a computer program. The content inside is displayed in a browser default monospace font as output error 404, which is monospace font, which is used to define a sample output for the computer program. KBT elements. The KBT elements represents user input, typically keyboard input. Example, Shift plus F3. Press Shift plus F3, where Shift and F3 are represents a user input from the keyboard. Sub and sub-elements. The sub-element represents a superscript and sub-elements represent a superscript and sub-element represents a subscript. In this example, we have a log4 as a sub-elements, and we have a variable x and n as a superscript with defined as a variable. I, B, and U elements, which I means are italic tags. I element represents a span of text in an alternative voice or mode. The content inside is typically displayed in the italic. The B element represents a bold text without any extra importance. The U element represents some text that is unarticulated and styled differently from normal text. The content inside is typically displayed with underlined. The mark elements. The mark elements represents a run of text in one document marked or highlighted for reference purpose due to its relevance in another context. Example, I also have some kittens who are visiting me these days. They are really cute. We are focusing on this kittens. That means kittens has some meanings or some another content attached to it. So we mark this kittens and the default color is yellow. The Ruby and RT elements. The Ruby elements specifies a Ruby intonation. A Ruby intonation is a small extra text attached to a main text to indicate the pronunciation or the meaning of corresponding characters. Use Ruby together with the RT. The RT tag defines an explanation or pronunciation of characters in a Ruby intonation. For example, you have a bass with the intonation. In our case, we have some Zonghua language where we use bass as ka and giku as an intonation to make a proper pronunciation, ka giku ke. BDI and BDO elements. BDI stands for bidirectional isolation. The BDI tag isolates a part of text that might be formatted in different direction from other text outside it. The BDO stands for bidirectional overrides. The BDO text is used to override the current text directions. We use dir attributes as RTL, which means right to left. We make a direction of this text, like we have kill string here, and we can direct backwards from right to left. BR elements. BR element represents a line break, which means we are breaking the line. When we write kille gcit munger, whether we write it like this or like this case, if you use BR, the output will be shown like this, which will have a new breaks. Thank you so much, and this will be the end for the text level semantics.